Why were you tasing people? Because I've seen some of them. Some of them look as though they're 12. You entered a plea to account for tampering with the government record. You entered a plea of guilty. The state waived counts 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7.
We're back down in Texas in old Judge Boyd's court, and this big boy was a former corrections officer at the prison. You're going to be shocked at what he's accused of.
According to the plea bargaining agreement, punishment is to be assessed at 1 year in the state jail facility. The state recommends community supervision. They're opposing your application for deferred adjudication.
Deferred adjudication is just another form of probation. If the court grants it, they postpone sentencing, they implement certain restrictions, and if he follows all those restrictions, they will eventually dismiss the case. If he doesn't follow all of the restrictions, if he breaks any of the rules during the time frame, the original charge gets reinstated.
Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report state?
Yes, Judge.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor. In fact, I've gone over my client and given him a chance to read it at his own pace.
Any objections to the PSI report state?
No objection, Judge.
Defense?
No objection, Your Honor, though. It's kind of taken.
That PSI report is the pre-sentencing investigation report, and it's critical to understand that in there will be facts that are stipulated to. There's no point to actually come in front of this court and try and argue them. You agree to them. That's what the judge is going to base her decision
In the
on.
way that they said a taser was a weapon.
All right.
Well, it's not a deadly weapon.
On PSI reports, I read the
Big Boy's lawyer is arguing that in the PSI report, it says that a taser is a deadly weapon. He's claiming it's not. It all depends.
PSI report, and I've always reread the stipulations that were entered, but you may proceed.
Took advantage
Translation, I don't want to hear any more facts. You already stipulated to the facts. I'm going to make my decision based upon what's in that report.
of people who he was supposed to be supervising and training in the Bexar County Jail. He was the CERT deputy in charge of cadets and lockdown units with violent offenders, people with ag assaults, murder charges pending. 5 individuals claimed that this defendant tased them when they were not consenting to it, when they were not looking, and that he did it in front of inmates, which, jeopardizes the security of the jail and also does not help with the retention issues that the jail is having as well, at least.
So the state's claiming that because this big boy's going around tasing his fellow employees, it's hurting with their employment retention rate. Now imagine if you're at your job and your boss would just come around and tase you. Yeah, most likely probably won't stay around for that long.
2 of the victims left after that they were tased because they didn't want to be part of that work environment. Some of them were tased on the arms, legs, back, stomach. Multiple people said they did not want to be tased. He did it anyways. There's evidence that after he tased them and that the victims would ask him, "Why'd you do that?" he would look at them and smile. Some of the people
Bunch of crybabies.
consented to being tased. However,
There are people consenting to being tased by this big bully?
was under a type of duress. For example, one of the victims went to him asking for clippers so that they could cut the inmate's hair in another unit. And he said, "I'll give them to you if you let me tase you." He said that he had been tased before. There's evidence that was uncovered throughout the investigation that he would, when the victims would say, "Hey man, why'd you do that to me? Have you ever been tased?" He would respond back with, "No, and I'm not going to let anyone tase me." So I don't know which part of that is actually true. He's besmirched the badge of the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. This is supposed to be a controlled environment, and he added chaos to an already chaotic environment by doing this in front of the inmate.
I don't know, if you're an inmate in the jail and you see this big correction officer tasing all the other correctional officers, would you generally hate? I think it may help the morale of the inmates.
It put not only him in jeopardy and the cadets, but also the other inmates. And it's his sole job in the jail to maintain the health and safety of the inmates who are there.
In fairness, he wasn't messing with the other inmates. All he was doing was simply tasing his fellow colleagues.
I'll leave you with this, Judge. It's the state's position that he needs to carry this conviction. When he was confronted about it, he put on a government record that he does not recall this ever happening. However, in the PSI, he says the reason he did it is because it was done to him. The old saying, if all your friends jump off of a bridge, are you going to do it too? And here it seems like he just went along with it and was tasing all these cadets. I just want to point out one of the individuals, this defendant is 6'10", 245 pounds, at least at the time when he was working there. One of the victims is 5'2" and 112 pounds. And he reported that he was held up against the wall physically and that this defendant would not set him down. that he would put him into an arm bar in front of other inmates and tase him multiple times in front of other inmates.
In fairness, this guy sounds like a lot of fun to work with.
It's the fact that we found out that this happened to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 individuals. And the one individual he didn't tase, he would harass. So when he would go to start doing his checks on the inmates, this defendant would point the red dot at him, come up behind him and clack the taser while the cadet was just trying to do his job. Therefore, the state thinks that this defendant should carry a conviction because of the egregiousness and because he has besmirched the badge of the Bexar County Sheriff's Office.
Defense.
Well, besmirching the bad may be horrible, but it's not an offense. And do you realize what you're accused of by tasing and harassing these cadets is not a proper work environment or training environment for them?
100%.
Have you learned from this not to do something like that?
100%, yes.
Were you ever tased? Yes or no?
Yes, I was.
And is it part of training that everybody's going to get tased sooner or later? Normally a time when they get
At a
tased.
time and a place, yes.
And did you notice anything from the inmates reacting to your alleged misconduct?
Yeah, they loved them.
I'm sorry?
Did you notice that any of the inmates took the fact that you may have tased somebody as something they could get away with more problems?
Mr. Anton, I do not recall tasing in front of inmates.
And this is
Then where the hell was he doing? He's working at a jail.
your first offense,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Go ahead.
You're asking the judge to give you deferred adjudication on this, your first offense.
Yes, I am,
And you'll follow any conditions the court gives you to do.
of course.
Anything else you want to say real quickly?
I have a newborn baby. This is a first-time offender. I do understand what I did was, wrong. I would not do it again. It's a mistake. I'm about to get married here in the next couple of weeks.
That's shocking. A newborn baby. Who knows what he's going to do once that baby starts acting up?
I asked for, if you put on deferred, I would greatly appreciate it. I have done my lesson, Your Honor. And I would never, ever do anything like this again.
Any questions?
Any questions from the state?
Just a few questions. Your attorney asked you, you know that that's not a proper work environment, stuff to do in the work environment, correct? But you understand this is more than just some type of workplace harassment. That was criminal conduct you were doing.
Yes,
I worked at places where they've done worse.
For housing people who have allegedly committed crimes.
correct.
So in fact, you were committing crimes in the jail.
Correct.
No further questions, Judge.
Nothing else, John?
When is your wedding?
We are actually going to the marriage license to pick up the proper documents. And then whenever, I guess, they have their scheduling, we'll pick a date, but as soon as possible.
All right. The state is asking for you to have a conviction. So I'm going to give you a choice. I will give you 4 years deferred adjudication. With that, you're going into custody to the Bexar County Jail for 30 days. That's your punishment. Or I will give you a conviction. Which do you choose?
So what she's saying is that if she gives him deferred adjudication, meaning she's not going to sentence him, she's not going to put him in jail long term, but she is allowed to send him to jail for a short period of time, 30 days to him might be a life sentence.
Or you're just giving regular probation, is that what you're saying,
Yes.
Your Honor? You want the conviction?
The convictions, no jail time?
No, I mean, that's something you can discuss with
What the big boy is really concerned about is not going to jail, and I don't blame him.
your attorney. I will give you 4 years deferred adjudication.
Although, wouldn't he be hailed as a hero in jail? The guy that would go around shocking all the other correctional officers?
With 4 years deferred adjudication as part of your punishment, you're going to the Bexar County Jail today in handcuffs for 30 days, or you will have a guilty conviction on your record. Which do you choose? And let me ask you this, since you're under oath. Why don't you want to go to the Bexar County Jail?
We all know why. Although I still think he'd be a hero.
I have a family to support. I am the only one that works within my family. My wife is focused on 100.
Based upon every single movie that I watch, anyone in law enforcement that ends up in prison never fares well.
I don't want to be in jail, Your Honor.
Well, the people you tased, they just wanted to, I'm assuming they were there to support their families as well. So why were you tasing people? And I don't want to hear, because how old are you?
24.
24. I don't want to hear this is like college and people are hazing people. I never understood why people who had been hazed decide to haze other people. So why were you tasing people at the jail who are just there? And I know those cadets are young because I've seen some of them. They're 18. Some of them look as though they're 12. So why were you tasing cadets?
Your Honor, doesn't make it right.
It's funny, that's why.
It's a thing that's going around.
Oh, you're saying there are other cadets there are other people at the names. Who are the people who are tasing people at the jail?
Off the top of my head, Your Honor, it's been a while. I don't.
No, I'm thinking, who tased you? Give me a name. I'm sure the
Big Boy knows that the only thing worse than a correctional officer being sent to prison is one that actually ratted on other ones.
state would like to know these names. So who are the names of the people who were tasing you?
Your Honor, I do not remember.
Of course, you always remember the first person who tased you.
Yes, it is true. You always remember the first person that tased you.
The first person who tased me was in proper training.
Oh, what's their name?
That was
All of the complainants in this case remember you as tasing them. That's why you're here. So who tased you?
in proper training. It was Deputy Chavez.
No. Not in training, because you were not tasing people in training. I know that sometimes, and I don't know if it's still the case. I think it's not the case. They would tase officers in training so they would know this is the voltage of the taser. This is how it feels. Much like in the military, when they release the gas, so you'll know how to wear your mask properly. No, I'm talking about who tased you improperly, because that's why we're here. You're saying people hazed you, so you're just hazing people. So who are these people who tased you when you were not in training?
Your Honor, I do not remember names.
All right. So who else is tasing people at the jail and tasing cadets other than you? Because that's what you're telling people. You're telling me, you're telling the state.
Big Boy better not rat anyone out here, because if he is sent to jail, he's not going to be popular amongst the inmates, and he definitely won't be popular amongst the correctional officers, especially the ones that he tased.
You're telling the attorney that there's tasing happening at the jail. I'm sure those cadets don't want to be tased if it's not in training. So who are these other people who are tasing cadets? We want to know. So tell me who they are. Do you need to sit in the box while you think of the names of the people?
Mr. Randall.
Can you remember any names at all?
I cannot remember any names.
Are you not intentionally not remembering names, correct?
No, I cannot remember.
Oh, I mean, if you want to sit in the box and think about the names, because you can't just throw around people are being tased at the jail by other people and then that's it. Who are these people who are tasing people? There's nothing worse. Well, there may be other things that are worse than people who say, well, I heard. But you're not saying I heard.
I heard, yes, ma'am.
You're saying, oh, now you're changing it to I heard?
I haven't seen someone get tased. I've heard of stories of people getting tased, and I just ran with that.
Oh, so he's never seen anybody tased. So now he's not just continuing the hazing that happened to him. He was just tasing people. Your unborn child, is this going to be a girl or a boy?
He's born 4 months old. He's a boy, yes, ma'am.
4 months old. So what if he decides to be a cadet at the jail and somebody like you, who's 6'10", however much you weigh, is tasing him?
I would be unhappy with that.
Mm-hmm. How unhappy would you be?
Very unhappy.
And how would you think the work environment would be for your son when they're constantly worried about some guy who's bigger than them tasing them?
As a parent, I would not approve of that work environment, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked he even has the self-realization to actually understand this.
That's what you did. Some people would call it being a bully, but that's what you did.
Yes, ma'am.
So you deserve a conviction, and I'm going to give you a conviction. Is there anything else from either party?
No, Your Honor. Nothing from the defense.
Nothing further from the state, Judge.
All right, where are you working?
Alamo Toyota.
Where?
I'm sorry?
Alamo Toyota.
All right, what do you do?
Change the shocks on the car, change the spark plugs.
Sales rep.
All right, court is going to sentence you to 1 year in the state jail facility, suspended and probated for 4 years.
There's the old gavel, and no shock there. The judge actually followed the agreement. He's getting probation. He has to stay out of trouble for 4 years.
There's to be the permanent surrender of your T-code license.
That's a license in Texas that enables someone to be a peace, correctional, or police officer.
And I know sometimes people will give up their T-code license, but then they go to another state and they're allowed to become officers again. So while you're on this probation, there's to be no employment as a security officer. Probation. Is there any type of anti-bullying course for him? All right, you're going to take somebody's anti-bullying course so you can understand the impact that you have when you bully people.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yeah, one question. Is a stun gun a weapon?
All right, we can go off the record. I understand why you don't want to do your time at the Bexar County Jail. And you know what? I know it has to do with people in the box and security for you at the Bexar County Jail. So that heavy beating of your heart, that's the heavy beating that all of those cadets had whenever you were on shift. And you need to remember that. Do you understand?
Sure.
All right, good luck to you.
Nothing shocking with that sentence. The judge gave exactly what they were asking for. Let's hope this big boy learns his lesson.